Thank you very much, and I hope you're all okay this morning. I was expecting to see about half of you here this morning. Anyway, obviously I'm Hugh. We've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to sort of really crack on into this because there's a huge amount to mindfulness, and yet there's nothing at all. And it might sound sort of discombobulating, but the fact is that mindfulness is about focusing your attention in the present moment, now. Just think about this. All you have, the only fact in your life you've got, is this moment. Everything else is a memory or projected thought. The only reality you have is now. Okay? So that's the first thing you've got to remember. So, we're going to start off by saying, oh, wrong way, there we go. No, that's that thing. Oh, well. What is mindfulness good for? And then, because I'm going to start off by giving you the practical tools of what it's actually very good for and very useful for, and then a bit of the science, and then we'll do some practice itself. It's been proven scientifically that it's good for anxiety, worry, depression, stress, tiredness, fatigue, diminishing concentration, chronic physical illness, and chronic mental illness. Well, today we're going to chronic physical illness. If it's going to come up. Oh, here we go. Just takes a bit of time. So, chronic physical illness. There are some scientific trials and research done by Elizabeth Blackburn with telomeres, which we'll go into in a moment, but Dr. Linda Carlson in the Department of Oncology and Faculty of Medicine at the University of Calgary has done a paper of 211 studies of mindfulness-based interventions. Sorry, it was out last night. It had one too many. Okay, now interestingly enough, mindfulness has been shown to improve the patient's quality of life in cancer, chronic pain, lower back pain, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, HIV/AIDS, IBS, and organ transplants. That's quite a statement when you think, what I'm going to show you how to do is how to do nothing. It's all about the mind playing games in your brain. When you get sick, you get very worried. You start ruminating, you start getting upset. That fires off your autonomic nervous system. I'm sure you all know a lot more about this than I do. When you get that stress reaction, you're on a spiral. You start getting depressed. You lose your energy. Your life's quality goes down. So if we really want to help people, we've got to help them get their quality of life back. Then their body will do the healing all by itself. The body is an amazing, dynamic instrument which only wants to be healthy. All doctors do is gives your body the chance to get better. When a surgeon takes out the cancer, it says, I'll take the bit away which isn't any good. Now, can you do the rest? And what is being shown since the 1980s with fMRI scanning is the way you think affects the way your body actually responds. Down to the fact that it is actually affecting the genes and the genomes. It's, sorry about this, the actual, there's a guy called Richie Davidson from the University of Wisconsin, and he says, we can intellectually shape the direction of plasticity changes in the brain. Plasticity, I didn't mention that. The brain can always change. The brain, your mind and your brain is not fixed. I was taught in school that my brain was fixed by the age of 24 and it's downhill after that. Not true. Now we know the brain can keep changing over and over and over again. In fact, 1.5 hours on a games console will actually show a difference in your brain patterning. So what you're thinking and how you're thinking affects your neural pathways. Your neural pathways are your habits. Now MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, is based on an 8-week course which actually changes the structure of your brain. If you change the structure of your brain, you change the way you perceive with your mind, which means you see life differently. Again, remember, this is the only moment we've got, now. So how are you seeing it? Are you worried about getting out, going home later on? Or are you focused focused here with your friends or focused on me and what I'm saying? Depends on where your attention is focused. Mindfulness is about bringing your attention to the moment, non-judgmentally. Non-judgmentally. Really important. Think about that. What does non-judgmentally mean? You're all sitting there judging me at the moment. Try not to. Try and be present. What's it like sitting on the chair? What does it feel like breathing? How do your clothes feel? What smells can you smell? That's really what's happening. It's your thoughts which are doing the rest. There's not enough time to really go into all this to the degree I'd like to, but it's what they've shown. She took 211 mindfulness-based interventions, so it wasn't only MBSR, it was MBCT, it was meditation, things like this. In the bit of paper I gave you in your folders, you've got the references, check them out. They're worth doing. And go to Google Scholar and actually take a look at mindfulness and the latest stuff they're doing in Wisconsin and Massachusetts and Stanford. It's phenomenal. It really is. Okay, so we go on from saying that basically when you ruminate on the past and worry about the future less and engage in less experiential avoidance of difficult things and situations, meaning if you can get your clients to do some mindfulness, they will feel better, they will get better. It gives them a tool for them. It's not a pill, it's a tool, but you have to learn it. And you have to learn this tool, which is a bit of the problem because it takes a bit of discipline. So, in the face of physical symptoms which are exacerbated by stress, most of the physical symptoms you're getting are exacerbated by stress. We live in a very stressful situation. We all know that. How do we deal with stress? By doing nothing. That doesn't mean going for a walk and thinking about it. It means not using your discursive, dualistic, judgmental mind. Mindfulness is about being in the moment, non-judgmentally. Difficult to understand when you first hear that. I remember thinking, what does he mean by this? There's a guy called John Kabat-Zinn, Full Catastrophe Living. Good book to read. Very thick, need a lot of time. But it's worth doing. You always catch him on YouTube. It's worth going John Kabat-Zinn YouTube and listen to him on the train when you're going home. Really inspiring stuff. Because basically what we're saying is that where you put your mind, so your life becomes. So once you become anxious, you become more anxious. Now, because we're dealing with mind-body medicine, and I was brought up in a very medical family where if you went to the mind, you were loopy. Basically, it was all physical stuff. My father was a surgeon, it was like, never go to the mind. That's what we're dealing with. Telomeres. Now, this is a snippet of the scientific evidence. Elizabeth Blackburn of University of California got the Nobel Prize for her work on telomeres. Telomeres are these caps which sit on the bottom of the DNA as the cell's mitosis. The length of them is indicative of how stressed you are. And she found that if you took people and stressed them, they got shorter. If you took people and put them on the 8-week MBSR course, they got longer. The better your DNA is, the better your health is, the better your cells are. The better your cell reproduction is, therefore you regrow those bits of the body you need to regrow. Telomerase. Again, influenced by MBSR. This is what happens down the end here. When you get little telomerase, you lose bits at the end of the DNA. You lose a bit of your life. What they found is you do mindfulness, and these bits here get bigger. They come back again. And then, again, go online. I'm not going to label this point too much because I want to do practice with you and practical to show you what it really is. Because it isn't a thought. It's not an idea. It's an actuality. And that's really exciting. So, a quick overview. This is a very simplistic view of the brain. We've got the neocortex, the limbic system, and the reptilian. Thinking, emotion, survival, and we have the amygdala. I'm sure you've all heard of the amygdala, and it is the bête noire of our life. Because as we crawled out of the swamps 200 million years ago, the reptilian brain got us through. We're all here today because we survived. Our gene pool survived. However, as that went on, we then evolved. Oh, I'll go back again. ganglion. We then evolved the limbic system, which is the emotional memory, which is what most of us run from, the autopilot. At this moment, you are digesting your breakfast, you're growing your hair, your liver's getting rid of all the alcohol, etc., 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 and you're not doing anything about it. Because we all live up here in the neocortex thinking. Now the problem is, the amygdala can't tell the difference between a dinosaur coming in from the eyes or smelling it and a thought. We're also overeducated. In the last 100 years, our education has gone up hugely. How many of us read and write? All of us read and write. It never was before like that. They say that if you read the Sunday Times from cover to cover, you'll take in more information than your ancestors in the 17th century did in a whole year. That's only a couple of hundred years ago, and I tell you, there's not been enough time for these three to get in line. So what's happening? The limbic system, which is your fear sentinel, coming from the old reptilian brain, fires off your autonomic nervous system, fires off your flight, fires off your anxiety. Now the joke is, the more you use it, the better it gets at doing it. Have you noticed how you get progressively more anxious? It takes less, your resilience drops. Mindfulness increases resilience. They've shown that the thickness of the grey matter in here diminishes when you do an 8-week course. I've got the papers here, it's written, you've got copies of it there. It's terribly important, this, because it's not me saying, hey guys, you all ought to meditate. I'm saying, your left brain can go, this stuff is scientific, this stuff works. I've got a client here who's absolutely off the Richter scale. If I get him to do this, he's going to calm down and come to the moment and he'll benefit. Just a little maybe, but that's enough. It's a tool for him, something or her to take home and keep at it. Because in the 8-week course, you've got to do your homework. You've got to keep at it. If you want to learn French, you don't just go to the French classes. You have to also learn your verbs and adjectives during the week. So, how does mindfulness work? Very briefly, because there's so much I want to do. The neocortex can only do one thing at a time. Have you ever tried having 2 conversations with your mobile phone at the same time? Impossible. You can quickly jump from one to the other, but you cannot have 2 conversations at the same time, in real time. These guys, however, they are multitaskers. They can do fantastic things all the time. These 2 only communicate in senses, sensations, and feelings. This one in thoughts. So there's a difference in your mind at the moment between the sensation of sitting on the chair and thinking about that guy up on the stage. Different type of contextual brain functioning. So, what we're going to do is we're going to build a superhighway between the neocortex and the limbic system of the reptilian brain by sitting doing nothing. Because if you do that, you allow yourself to get the advantage of being able to respond to any situation rather than react. And in mindfulness, it's a very big differentiation here. Reaction is when you're coming from your memories, whereas responding is seeing what is actually happening in this present moment. That's really important, because your life is this present moment. It's not what you thought it was. Now, there may be similarities, it may be really useful, and I'm not saying we don't use our memory at all. What I'm saying is we just, if you think of the amount of anxiety there is, I think it's about 10% of the population of this country is now clinically has chronic anxiety, which is a huge number of people, and it's growing. And I see with the digital age, it's going to increase unless we put some kind of antidote in. And I believe that mindfulness is the antidote, because it's simple, easy, open to everybody, and it's free. Because you all know how to do it. Because the actual neocortex, if we can make your mind focus on one thing, it cannot be thinking. Thoughts need your attention. Thoughts need your attention. A young child falls over. What do? You run up, you rub its knee, go, oh, look at that swan over there. What happens? They change their attention from their knee to the swan, and suddenly they forget all about the pain. Correct? Because the mind can only do one thing at a time. If you're not focused on the pain and the danger around the pain, because the leg might still hurt, But the child gets into a heightened state of anxiety. If the mother goes into anxiety, goes, oh my God, what broke your leg? So the child gets more into it, and they just spiral up into this emotional catastrophe. Whereas if you change the focus of attention, you change the situation in the moment. That's what we're going to do in a moment. So, neuroplasticity is the key. Neuroplasticity, the ability of neurogenesis, neurons which fire together, wire together, and you can change the way your brain works. This is the biggest change in science, I believe, in the 21st century. It's the fact that the brain's ability to adapt to situations, and the fact, yet again, coming back to one of my heroes, we can intentionally shape the direction of the plasticity changes in the brain. Richie Davidson of Wisconsin University. We can intentionally do it, and that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to intentionally change your brains now. Okay? So, what I want to do, I see a little bit of water. I'll just get my chainsaw out. Hold on. Okay, I'm joking about chainsaw. What I want you all to do, we'll do some practical mindfulness. Okay? We're going to do some mindfulness breathing. There's 3 sections to mindfulness from the John Kabat-Zinn stable yard. One is mindfulness breathing, one is body scan, and one is mindfulness movement. If we moved all the chairs back and do mindfulness movement, we haven't got enough time. We're going to do the other 2 though. So what I'd like you to do is if you've ever done your meditation, you'll know it's quite good to sit with a straight back. So I want you to be alert. So I want you to come to the edge of your chair. You see, when I sit, I sort of come to the edge of my chair and sit forward. If you've got a bad back, support your back. It's all about supporting you, this. This is not about having to do anything, and it's not a competition. So, close your eyes. Sit nicely comfortable, even at the back there, I can see you. And I want you to be quiet. I want you to bring your attention back into yourself. Really feel what it's like to be sitting on the chair. Feel your toes in your shoes, your knees, your bum on the chair, your shoulders, your head. Now take a breath. And feel what it's like as the chest expands and contracts as the air leaves. Feel the wholeness of your breath. Now, you weren't feeling that a moment ago. Now we're focusing on the breath. Take another breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Try and hold your concentration on the breath. Your mind will wander off. You'll be thinking, why am I doing this? What am I doing here? God, it's stupid. Don't. Come back. Draw your attention or your focused mind to your breath, to your body in this moment now. Breathe in and breathe out. Your mind will want to make stories. It'll want to run your narratives. It'll want to figure things out. Sit with no judgment, no analysis, no elaboration. Just sit with your breath as it is, with an acceptance. Watch where the mind goes and gently bring it back to this moment one more time. Drop your shoulders, relax your back, sit gently with yourself. Notice the breath, notice the physical nature and sensations of what it is to actually breathe.